Welcome into the CHGO White Sox Podcast. On today's episode, we will talk about the newest White Sox, Joey Gallo. We'll talk about James Fegan's it's a good article, but it made me feel horrible. His horrible article over on SoxMachine.com. And we'll talk about Owen White here on the CHGO White Sox Podcast. CHGO White Sox Podcast, coming to you live from Studio B of our CHGO offices here in the West Loop of Chicago. I'm your host, Sean Anderson. We're being produced today by my pal, Sarah.
Hi.
Hello. People are worried about you on the Cubs show.
They were?
Barb is very, very worried about you. She thinks that you are lost, hurt, and I think she also thinks that we can't get in touch with you. But to let everyone know, Sarah's fine.
I'm okay.
She's fine.
Yeah.
So there you go. Woohoo. She gets to cover hockey tonight.
I've been in hockey world for a few months now.
It's a lot more exciting in the baseball world. We'll talk about your Chicago White Sox today. Some happy news, some sad news, and then some news that will likely make your blood boil. We'll be talking about Joey Gallo signing a minor league deal with the Chicago White Sox, and we'll talk about the ongoing position battles, who will make the opening day roster, who might not make the opening day roster. We'll talk about the full team reporting today to spring training. No absences from what I know over in Camelback Ranch. There was a great article from James Fegan over at Sox Machine that I will get into, but unfortunately, and kind of fittingly that you're giving the thumbs up from Ozzie Guillen here, we do have to talk about Bobby Jenks. Bobby Jenks is currently the manager of the Windy City Thunderbolts down on the south side, but he is also currently battling stomach cancer. From MLB.com's Scott Merkin, Bobby Jenks has stage 4 adenocarcinoma, a form of stomach cancer. He is 43 years old. Along with this, Bobby is currently being treated for this stage 4 adenocarcinoma in Spain. His wife, I believe, is Spanish, or his wife is from Spain, and they moved closer to be with her family or by her family while he's getting this treatment. He is currently, again, stage 4, dealing with stage 4 cancer, being treated for cancer. But along with this, they also lost their Pacific Palisade home in the wildflower. Bobby told Scott Merkin, the stuff I was doing in my 20s and early 30s, no normal person would have survived. Bobby is a married father of 6, and his goal is to get back to the Windy City Thunderbolts. And it did seem like he really did have it seemed like he was kind of trying to get back out there with the Windy City Thunderbolts stuff. It seemed like he was, he's such a gregarious guy, seemed like he had a great personality, and kind of just the worst news possible. Because you have your house burned down, terrible, horrible, things can be replaced. And he mentioned something along the lines of that, but your life can't be replaced. And we know how much Bobby meant to that 2005 team. I was talking to Stephen Nicholas, a fellow Sox fan. He was saying that Paul Konerko is probably the guy on the 2005 White Sox team, but his favorite player might have been Bobby Jenks. Such an engaging player for fans to watch, such a huge presence, physically, and just huge coming out of the bullpen, but huge presence in that 2005 team, and we are obviously wishing him the best in his fight with cancer. I think someone in the chat said Bobby's going to strike out this cancer. ALLCITY said Bobby going to strike out this cancer. Obviously, that's the hope. That's the goal. But being 43 and dealing with stomach cancer, this is one of the worst types of cancers you can get. So this is horrific news for the White Sox family. And, hopefully Bobby can fight it off as long as he can. And if Bobby does strike out cancer, we'll be throwing parties in the streets all the way from, 127th in Cicero all the way to 35th in Shields. I have no idea where Ozinga Field is, but it's somewhere kind of by 127th. So that's the unfortunate news about Bobby Jenks. We love Bobby Jenks. best of luck to him in his battle, and we will keep you updated on any more news that develops from that. And you can go read the article, too, on MLB.com that Scott Merkin put together. He talked to Bobby for about 20 minutes. Let's get into some player news. Joey Gallo is your newest Chicago White Sox. Over the weekend, he signed a minor league deal with the Chicago White Sox with a non-roster invite to spring. So he's currently not on the 40-man, and he's currently not officially on the 26-man roster or aligned to make the 26-man roster. But I think once it's all said and done, this is probably a player that's going to end up on the 2025 opening day roster and the 26-man roster that day. If we look at position by position, and this is not including all the battles, we'll get into the battles. At catcher, I have Matt Tice. He's a lefty, along with Omar Narvaez. He's a righty. I think that they're going to, and Chuck Garfien said something along this lines, they're going to be emphasizing framing. They don't care too much about the bat coming from the catcher position. So it's possible Corey Lee could be in that mix. It's possible Edgar Caro could be in that mix. I think it's a little bit too early for Caro and Teal. And Corey Lee, it's really, can he beat out someone in their 30s? Can he beat out a Matt Tice? Can he beat out an Omar Narvaez? I don't think that's going to end up happening. I think you're going to see Caro and Lee in Charlotte, and then you're going to see Teal in Double-A. And that's at least to start off the year because, Narvaez could be horrible. They could cut him by, the second week, and Lee could get called up immediately. But I think they're likely going to go with the veterans to start off the year. At first base, you got Andrew Vaughn, and I think this is where Joey Gallo is going to play most of his time with the Chicago White Sox if he ends up making the team. 3 outs above average at first base with the Washington Nationals last year. Before that, Gallo has mainly been an outfielder. I don't think he could play center anymore, but I think he could do okay, at least in left or right field. He might not be an above average defender, but he's like a -1 defender. So he's just below being average. So is it the worst thing ever if he's playing left field or right field? No. In a pinch, it's fine. And he's truly more of a outfielder and first baseman than Gavin Sheets ever was. So this is truly an upgrade over to Gavin Sheets, and you're going to have to pay Gavin Sheets millions of dollars to be on your team. Joey Gallo, I think, got the minimum. I don't think any of his contract details have been leaked out, but I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal for Joey Gallo. So you lose Gavin Sheets, and I think you upgrade with Joey Gallo. The biggest thing that's going to stick out for Gallo, if he is going to be splitting time at first base with Andrew Vaughn, it's how well can he do against right-handed pitchers. Obviously, Vaughn's a right-handed hitter. Gallo's a left-handed hitter. So you're thinking you're going to see a platoon between those two. Gallo versus right-handers and mainly versus fastballs. 36% seen in 2021, 42% seen in 2022, 44% seen in 2023, and then 42% seen in 2024. I'll give you more details on the fastballs, but pretty much since 2022, he's seen over 42% of fastballs whenever he's gone up against a right-handed pitcher. In 2021, he slashed 191, 368, and 480 versus right-handed pitchers' fastballs. He had a 34% whiff rate and a 2.3 barrel percent. In 2022, his batting average dipped by pretty much 20 points from 191 to 179. His on-base percentage dipped from 368 to 321. His slugging percentage dipped from 480 to 430. His whiff rate went up 3% from 34% to 37%. And somehow his barrel rate went up by 0.3%. Nothing too crazy, but it did go up. 2023, his batting average continued to go down 179 to 168. His on-base percentage fell off a complete cliff, 321 to 269, and then his slugging percentage increased 430 to 467. The whiff rate still stayed at a pretty high 37%, and the barrel rate went down to 2.4%. And just last year, it seemed like he kind of found something. His 191 average in 2021 was the best against right-handed fastballs. Last year, 206. His on-base percentage from being as bad as 269 last year went up to 310, and his slugging percentage last year against right-handed pitching fastballs was the highest it's ever been in his career, nearly 500 slugging percentage for Joey Gallo. 480 in 2021, 430 in 2022, 467 in 2023, and 495 in 2024. His whiff rate also fell by 5%, 37.3% to 32.3%, and his barrel rate did fall off, but he's making more contact. And if his slugging percentage is going down, or if his slugging percentage is going down, if his slugging percentage is going up, and his barrel percentage is going down, I'll at least take the fact that the slugging is going up and he's making more contact and whiffing less. So I think it's a decent side of a of a platoon for first base. Vaughn, 97 weighted runs created plus versus right-handed pitcher since 2021. Gallo, 109 weighted runs created plus versus right-hand pitching since 2021. I think that Gallo will likely be a part of the opening day roster. I think that you're going to see Vaughn and Gallo at first base. So I have Tice and Narvaez as my two catchers, Vaughn and Gallo as my two first basemen. I think you're going to see Rojas. Josh Rojas, he got a major league deal. I think he'll be your starting second baseman. That leaves me at 5. You got Vargas at 3rd. That's my 6th player. Benny is my 7th player. Roberts, my 8th player. Tauchman and Slater are my 9th and 10th player. Drury would be my 11th player. Then it comes down to 2 more spots. Basically, who's going to be your shortstop, and will Need Sosa make the team? I have Sosa slotted in to be a backup at second base, but they could also end up taking 2 or more of Colson Montgomery, Chase Mydroth, and Jake Amaya. So right now, I think first base is pretty much set up. We've been looking for who else could possibly spell Andrew Vaughn at first base. Wasn't going to be Tim Elko because he's a right-handed hitter. I think Elko is probably the backup if Vaughn's just terrible this year. Seems like Gallo's the true backup. So it seems like we're seeing a true team flesh out. I also forgot Michael A. Taylor. So we probably will drop Drury or drop Sosa and put Michael A. Taylor in there. But I think it's shaping up for Gallo to be the platoon of a first base. I'm excited about it, though. I wish Gallo was a part of this team years ago. Moni says Gallo was my dream get 4 years ago. Yeah, we had our talk, I think it was December 8th, 2022, where Herb said he got an inside scoop that Joey Gallo was going to be a White Sox. And I put out there that would be allowed. Brandon Nimmo would be allowed. You also had, who was the other one? Brandon Nimmo, Conforto, and then Michael Brantley. And the only one that wasn't allowed, Andrew Benintendi. And who are we at? Who are we stuck with? We're stuck with Andrew Benintendi. But, a couple of years later, we got Gallo coming around. Narvaez, sorry, I'm answering to Wolf Larson. Narvaez hits left, and so does Tice. Can they confuse? I thought Tice was one of them. I thought one of them hit righty. No, they both hit lefty. Okay, so, yeah, I am wrong on that. Narvaez and Tice do both hit lefty. So they'll probably just pick the best one, and then Corey Lee will be on the team. So thank you, Wolf Larson. That's my bad. So you're right then that Tice and Narvaez will likely battle one another for that one spot, and then Lee will be the right-handed catcher on that platoon. So thank you for correcting that, Wolf Larson. I was incorrect. Riffic saying Vargas does not deserve 3rd. Yes, he does, because this team is terrible. This team is horrible. This team is projected to win like 56 games at best. Vargas is 25 years old. You traded Eric Fetty, Michael Kopech, and Tommy Pham for nothing, pretty much. You got to see what you get in Vargas. You could give him a whole 2 to 3 months to figure out what he can do. He wasn't this bad in Los Angeles, so you got to think that he'll bounce back a little bit. And if he doesn't, it's 2 months of bad baseball that someone's probably going to play for the White Sox, whether it's Miguel Vargas or not. I mean, if you put Ramos there at third base to start opening day, he's younger, and I don't even know if he's that ready yet. He kind of showed a little bit at the major league level, kind of showed a little bit at Charlotte, but also was terrible at Charlotte and was also terrible at the major league level. I think Ramos needs more seasoning. Vargas is fine. If he fails at third base, you got your answer and you can move on by June. But Vargas is absolutely going to be their third baseman. Elsa dude finishing up saying the Angels shaping to look like the 2021 White Sox with Tim Anderson and Yohan Moncada. Did you hear Tim Anderson might play outfield? Tim Anderson might be a left fielder. There was all this talk back in 2016 when he was drafted that maybe he'll be a center fielder, and it only took several leg injuries and 8 years later to move him to the outfield. What a great idea for the Los Angeles Angels. Very, very, very stupid. Tommy saying kind of depressing to say as it isn't even a guaranteed deal, but Joey Gallo offers a hell of an upgrade for this roster defensively. If he finds any pre-Yankee magic in his bat, that's a bonus. I agree, and honestly, it's just somebody that for sure is going to play okay defense at first base. He was 3 outs above average, and he's learned this position. He wasn't that great in 2023 at first base, but 2024 he was better. I think that if he can just hit fastballs. That's all I want Joey Gallo to do, is go up there, and when you see a fastball, hit the hell out of it. If you got a whiff rate above 35%, oh well, but if his batting average is around 200 on fastballs, he's probably going to have a 500 slugging percentage. I mean, the guy's extremely yoked. The guy's huge as hell. He should be able to hit the ball decently. El Sadu saying left field is crazy for Tim Anderson. Yes, but if you put him out in center field with those legs, he'll be tired in probably an inning or so. And there's no way, because he kind of had a weak arm already at shortstop, there's no way he's going to be playing right field. And I don't think he's got the arm for center field, so left field's the only option. I wouldn't put him at left field, but it seems like they're going to. So congrats to Anaheim. We have to take a break here on the CHGO White Sox podcast, and we want to let you know about our friends over at Mando. Mando is a men's deodorant brand that's hyper-focused on keeping every aspect of a man's body smelling fresh and clean. Every single aspect of your body. Mando overtly calls out more colorful parts of men's body parts such as pits, bellies, buttons, balls, butt cracks, grundles, and more. And you can have all of these parts of your body smelling great. It's a whole body deodorant that's safe to use on your body. Again, your pits, your balls, your thigh folds, your belly buttons, your butt cracks, and feet. It was created by a doctor who saw firsthand how normal BO was being misdiagnosed and mistreated. And you could choose from a variety of fresh scents like bourbon leather, Cloverwoods, Mount Fuji, or Pro Sport. The Mando starter pack comes with a solid stick of deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice like a mini body wash and deodorant wipes, and free shipping. The classic is the solid stick, but I have been using the cream deodorant. I'm just throwing it out there. I don't know what you use. I don't know if you've ever used a cream deodorant. I've never used a cream deodorant before Mando. I used the cream deodorant, and I really love it. And it was just like 30% off over at Target. So I just stocked up on my Mando products. You can use our code CHGO at shopmando.com. New customers get $5 off a starter pack with our exclusive code. That equates to 40% off your starter pack over at shopmando.com. But go try out the starter pack. See what you like. Maybe you don't like the cream deodorant, but maybe you love the stick deodorant. Head over to shopmando.com. Use code CHGO at shopmando.com for 40% off your starter pack. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Smell fresher, stay drier, and boost your confidence from head to toe with Mando. We also want to let you know about our friends over at Lucy. Lucy is 100% pure nicotine. It's always tobacco-free, and Lucy breakers are nicotine pouches with an extra surprise. Each pouch holds a capsule that can be broken open to release extra flavor and hydration, and you can set yourself up with the subscription and have Lucy delivered straight to your door so you don't have to waste your time when you're going into work or coming home from work to stop off at the gas station and pick up Lucy. You can just have it shipped right to your door, and you could save time, or maybe you could still leave 5 minutes late because you saved that much time. You don't have to go to the gas station. But go to Lucy, lucy.co/CHGO, and use promo code CHGO 2025 to get 20% off your first order. Lucy has a 30-day refund policy, so if you change your mind, you can send it back. Again, that's lucy.co, and use code CHGO 2025 to get 25% off. Lucy products are only for adults of legal age, and every order is age verified. Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is a addictive chemical. Pawpaw saying we weren't going to sign Gallo in 2021 and 2022, but we're too cheap. Oh, no. The White Sox have always needed an outfielder, and he's just been a free agent. It's not even that they were too cheap. They ended up paying Benintendi more money than Gallo ever got. Gallo's still a free agent, and they could have had him back on that deal when he ended up signing with the Dodgers or Yankees or whatever that was. They could have had him for a 1-year deal, but they ended up giving Benintendi 4 years for $75 million. So it's the exact opposite of them being cheap, Pawpaw. They're stupid. They signed the wrong guy, and they signed him for way too much of a liability. I mean, he's still on this team, and they're still looking to ship him. And, now Joey Gallo and Andrew Benintendi are going to be teammates. Woohoo. James Coogan saying not excited about the Gallo pickup. The Sox have enough terrible hitters. But that's the thing, and I totally hear you, but there's no good hitters out there. There's nobody good out there that they can just go and sign. Like, I guess you could have said Juan Soto. He's pretty good. He's the next Ted Williams. But realistically, they're not going to give a player $765 million. And again, Chris Getz said they weren't going to go out and spend money before this offseason. They didn't go out. They didn't spend money. They have a pretty decent amount of crop of terrible hitters. And they're going to have to figure out who's good, who's not, and they'll cut them. I don't think that they're going to be too trigger happy or too trigger shy to get rid of the fat. Like if Vaughn's bad and still bad by June, they might just give Gallo the full run and see if they can get something from Gallo by the end of the July. Like, it's $5 million for Vaughn. The only thing I think they're not going to eat is Benny's $15 million and Roberts' 15, but it seems like they were even discussing with the Reds to eat up some of that money. So the Sox have have enough terrible hitters, but the whole team's kind of terrible. That's the entire point. All right. So that's mostly Gallo and Bobby Jenks. There was a very important article that was posted over at SoxMachine.com. It is for their patrons. So if you do want to go and support Sox Machine, Jim, Josh, and James do a fantastic job over there, not only with their podcast, their weekly podcast, but like articles like this, where James Fegan had a chat with people within the White Sox organization, not only Chris Getz, but also David Keller and Brian Bannister. Here are some of the quotes that stuck out to me. First of all, the first thing that James wrote, the first and most pressing issue is that the team is still bad. So to James, the Sox have enough terrible hitters. The White Sox are aware of that. And what the front office said, and James wrote, they don't really expect the general public to buy into what they're doing before the results indicate that they should, which is fair. I'm fine to be open and willing to accept what 2025 looks like. I didn't love the idea of Michael A. Taylor in December, but now that you've signed Cal Mitchell and it's been several months and he's very cheap and you could just bring in a guy that plays like really good major league defense, like, yeah, that's a fine signing. But again, it has to be proven that they can go out and develop people. However, some of the interesting quotes come from Brian Bannister. Banny said, a lot of the things we didn't have information-wise last year, that's going to help us develop players better and more efficiently. I don't know exactly what those specific information pieces are that Banny is talking about. However, we've talked a ton about the underbelly and that Chris Getz, even though they aren't spending in free agent like Kevin Russell says, the whole point of this offseason wasn't to go out and get, X player for $75 million. It was to take that $75 million and invest it into the organization. Can I tell you again what they're doing and what they're going out and saying? No, they're keeping that fairly close to the chest. But the idea is that they're going to prove and show that, hey, we're an actual organization who has cleaned up our SHIT over the past couple of seasons, and now we're in a better space to actually start developing baseball players. However, there were some quotes in here that made me a little bit sickening. David Keller, part of his work is overseeing amateur and pro scouting, and part of the work was to make sure that the pro and amateur scouts were working on the same evaluation scale. So I don't know if you guys remember, like when I used to do the show with Vinny and Herb, I used to talk about prospect scales, right? 20 to 80 scale. If you have an 80 grade slider, that's the best slider you could possibly have. That's pretty much where Noah Schultz is, right? He's got the best of the best slider. That's an 80 grade slider. If you can't throw from left field, you're going to have a 20 arm. So Andrew Benintendi has a 20 arm. That's how the 20 to 80 grade scale works. But it seems like, apparently from this wording, the pro scouts had their own version of the 2080, and then the amateur scouts had their own version of a scale. I don't know if it was exactly 20 to 80 scale, but David Keller had to go up and clean it up and say, hey, you guys aren't actually grading these people the same exact way, and that's the issue. So again, communication within the actual organization is leading to issues. You can go out and spend $185 million on a 2021 team that wins 93 wins, but can you actually replicate that when no one's within the organization is talking to themselves, talking with one another properly? Like, that's what it seems like is coming out of all of these hit pieces, and not even hit pieces, it's just the truth. But pieces like this, it just shows how unable the White Sox are to operate as an actual organization, to operate as a true baseball team. It's fairly sickening. There's a quote on StatCast here. Hawkeye tracking systems are being installed at Sox affiliates for this year. Bless up. Thank God. We got some AAA stuff, and that's, I think, mainly major league-wide. You can go check out some Charlotte StatCast numbers. But now you'll have StatCast numbers at Birmingham, which is very important because Noah Schultz is going to pitch there. Hagen Smith is going to pitch there. Same at Kannapolis, same at Winston-Salem. You could finally see Tanner McDougal stuff's grayed out very greatly. But anyways, the lack of which the Hawkeye systems, the lack of which is believed to have contributed to shortcomings in evaluating and valuing defense and responding to how other teams were attacking them. So now they can actually build up scouting reports for their their games, which woohoo. And James goes on by saying all those ads about the MLB housing StatCast on Google Cloud carried a sting because last year the White Sox were the only one of 30 teams, that did not have their data housed on StatCast's Google Cloud, reflective on an organization-wide issue of clogged data pipeline. There was the piece in The Athletic from Britt Giroli and Ken Rosenthal. We're talking about the White Sox have this data that they're getting from separate organizations, but they don't actually agree, or they weren't agreeing in the past, on how to move forward with the information that they were getting. They were getting all this information. They had no idea what to do with it. Apparently, they also weren't even getting information and had to figure that out. Amy saying Rick and Kenny set this organization back 10 years. Pretty much. There's a story from Keith Law on the Sox Machine podcast from just last week where he talks about Keenan Mitchell and how nobody thought Keenan Mitchell was a first-round draft pick, but Kenny Williams did. And why did Kenny Williams do that? Not because of his size, not because of his looks, not because of his athleticism. No, because how the ball sounded coming off the bat. As old school as it gets, as dumb as it gets, you're better putting your head into the sand, and you'll probably find a baseball player easier that way. So just Amy's right there. Rick and Kenny did set this organization back 10 plus years, and that's fairly being nice. The other two that stuck out to me, one more from Bannister, and again, this is over at SoxMachine.com. James Fegan did a wonderful job curating this. Make sure that you go sign up to be a patron today. They have many different levels. I got signed up for the $5 one, and now I'm a Sox Machine Patreon supporter. But go support them. But what Banny said was, if we can't hang on to the premium players forever, like Ceases and Crochets, then we just have to be better, like other organizations, at developing faster, getting the most out of our guys faster, and turning it over and really putting a quality product on the field that keeps up with other, more modernized organizations. This is the part that, if you want to talk, where Kevin Russell says, let's face it, the Sox aren't spending in free agency until prospects can show they are a cornerstone. Even then, they may not spend on a free agent. We better hope the 3 to 5 of these prospects are generational talents. Not completely far off, but what it really breaks down to is, when I hear this, if we can't hang on to the premium players forever, like Dylan Ceases and Garrett Crochet, then we have to be better at developing them faster. So the White Sox, pretty much, when they have a guy of significance to build around, they have a 6-year window pretty much to get it right. I don't think that this is him saying, oh, we'll probably never see a large contract for the Chicago White Sox. However, if he's saying Brian Bannister, who's been here for 2 years, and he's saying, oh, well, we're a team that can't keep the Dylan Ceases and the Garrett Crochets, what happens if you get a Bobby Witt? What happens if the Royals happens if the Royals are stupid? Don't take Bobby Witt in the 2018 draft. They select Andrew Vaughn with the second pick, and Bobby Witt's your shortstop at third overall. Are the White Sox not going to give him a $324 or whatever $1 million extension Bobby Witt got? That raises the big red flag for me, because what are you going to spend on? The White Sox, along with the A's and Royals, are the only teams that have never given out $100 million contracts to a single player. And this quote from Bannister doesn't feel like that's changing anytime soon. And you're right, Kevin, that maybe they need to see prospects turn into cornerstones before they start spending on this team. But when he says certain other organizations, I think of the Brewers, I think of the Rays, I think of teams that consistently cry poor, and that just raises a huge, huge, huge red flag to me when the czar of pitching is saying, if we can't hang on to premium players, you should be able to, because you're in Chicago and you have the damn money. The guy owns the effing Bulls. Anyways, the other one, Ryan Fuller had something. He said, I pride myself on having a JUCO mindset. We might not have the fanciest equipment, but we're going to beat the crap out of teams that have every resource possible. But the great thing is that they made a great commitment to research and development. They have unbelievable biomechanics that work with the White Sox. I'm really excited to work with the tools that we have, the tools we're going to bring in, and the really smart people we have. Doesn't give me confidence, ton of confidence, when the czar of pitching is saying, oh, we can't hold on to premium players, and then the director of hitting is saying, oh, we're pretty much a JUCO school. Feels like it. Feels like the White Sox are a JUCO school, but it really, I don't know, it really rubs me the wrong way when they're just saying it out loud. You're a Major League Baseball team, and you've been the owner of a Major League Baseball team for 40 plus years, and it took you this long to figure out that your organization was this much in the doldrums, was this poorly run. Like, I'm really surprised that at this point, Jerry Reinsdorf is a billionaire. I don't know how, looking at his two organizations in Chicago, the White Sox and Bulls, they are so poorly run. How is this man ever built up his portfolio to have $1 billion?
History!
I don't understand it. I don't really, doesn't make sense to me, because it seems like he's fallen ass backwards into most of the things that he's done. And he bought, the White Sox and Bulls at the right time. Don't get me wrong. That was easily the right choice for Jerry Reinsdorf. But go look at the Kenny and Rick thing. Go look at the John Paxson, the Gar Pax thing. Poorly ran for years and years and years and years and years and years and years. And AK and Mark Eversley felt like a breath of fresh air when they came over. But boy, do they look stupid. And right now, Chris Getz, it seems like he's doing everything right. He's doing everything that I would do. Try to build up the research and development. Try to build up the data that you have. Try to accelerate growth and development, something the White Sox haven't been able to do. However, do I trust him? Because at the end of the day, this is a Jerry Reinsdorf-owned team, and for the most part, they've sucked ass my entire life. So there you go. I didn't really feel good reading James's article, but you should go read it over at SoxMachine.com. All right, I'm going to answer these questions in the chat. We got a show tomorrow at 4:30. Make sure you're hitting that thumbs up button and subscribing to the CHGO Sports YouTube channel. HBS saying, do you think the Sox could possibly use Bobby Dahlbeck as a utility player and possibly put him at second base and put Rojas at short? Also, you're doing a great job with the show. Thank you, HBS. So Rojas at short, no. I don't think he's played short for like 2 years now. I would avoid that completely. If you need Rojas to play, he could play second and third base, and I think that's totally fine. And matter of fact, if you're putting Colson Montgomery on the opening day roster, he better get every single opportunity to play shortstop. If you're putting Chase Mydroth on the opening day roster, maybe not shortstop exactly, but do you have Amaya fill in for him at that point? I don't know. I don't think Dahlbeck is going to make the roster, but he could stay in Charlotte and then maybe work his way up by May or June. Because again, he has major league experience, so I think he would be one of the first guys that they would call up rather than one of the younger players. Axminster saying, is there's still part of this organization that thinks that 2021 is still the blueprint? No, I think they're very much done with 2021. And if you want to elaborate a little bit more on what that blueprint is, feel free to. Maybe they would still be aggressive with younger players and signing extensions, but clearly there isn't a player right now that they feel strong enough in building that future around. Doesn't seem like Colson's the guy. It doesn't seem like Caro and Teal, especially being catchers, are ever really like the guy. Who was the last team that built a World Series championship around a catcher? Like, obviously a very important position, but not the end all be all, and that's usually not where superstars come from. So I don't know that this team has a blueprint of what a successful White Sox team is going to look like. I think they're still in the midst of figuring it out. So we'll see. Axminster, but I don't know. Amy says Jerry is a billionaire because of MJ. No MJ, Jerry would not still own the Bulls and White Sox. Very fair. And again, he bought at the right time, because he bought in 1984 or 1985. He bought a year after Jordan was drafted. Just got lucky, man. It's a good investment. Overall, when you look at the greatest investments of all time, Jerry Reinsdorf buying the Chicago Bulls in 1984 will be a part of that. That's going to do it for the CHGO White Sox podcast. Thank you very much to Sarah for producing this show. Thank you to everyone for hanging out with me. Hit that thumbs up button and make sure you're subscribing to the CHGO Sports YouTube channel. We have a diehard Discord channel that we have that's very active. You can come and join us, and you can talk about the White Sox even when we are not live. You want to talk about Joey Gallo? We could talk about Joey Gallo. You want to talk about Riku Nishida? We could talk about Riku Nishida. You want to talk about Brian Bannister? We talk about Brian Bannister. All over at the Die Hard Discord. Hit that QR code and head over to sign up today. Hit that thumbs up button. Appreciate you watching. We got 4 nations What is it called?
It's a Four Nations face-off. Four
Basic
Nations face-off. We have Sweden and U.S. tonight at 7 o'clock.
So U.S. looking to go 3-0. They've beaten Finland. They've beaten those disgusting Canadians, and here comes Sweden. My last name's Anderson, so I'm low-key rooting for Sweden. That's going to do it. See you tomorrow. CHGO White Sox Podcast.
We all silly like the mayor.